Arsenal put on an absolute masterclass. There's so many things for us to talk about in this video, but make sure you stick around to the end because I've actually got something to talk about on why this performance may actually negatively impact our title chances. Now, I hope it don't, but there's definitely something we have to bear in mind and just be careful of going into the latter part of the season. So make sure you stick around for that. But let me know your thoughts on that performance last night. So many good players, so many good performances. We're going to talk about everything in this video. But before we get into it, just do me the favour of giving me a thumbs up on this video if you enjoy this kind of content. So, Arsenal win 6-0 away from home again, and we are now record setters. We spoke a couple of days ago on how Arsenal have the chance to make history in this game by winning 3 consecutive away games by 5 goals or more, and that's exactly what Arsenal done. There was so much pressure going into this game on Arsenal, but it's like it didn't even affect them. The mentality, the players went out there and put on show. From the first minute, Arsenal were hungry. Arsenal were attacking on the front foot straight away. The balance this team had was something that has to be applauded. Mikel Arteta got his tactics absolutely spot on. The team selection spot on. You know, there was a conversation before the game that when Gabriel Jesus was back available, he should be going straight into the starting lineup because he's a better player than Havertz. On yesterday's performance, I don't know if that's true anymore. Havertz was incredible. We're going to talk about Havertz. We're going to talk about Rice. The defence, so many good things. Like I said, let me know your thoughts about this game. What impressed you the most about this performance? For me, I think it was just the front foot nature in which Arsenal approached this game. Like I said, as soon as that first whistle went, Arsenal pushed up straight away, and the high line that Arsenal were holding just strangled Sheffield United. Arsenal had defenders at times, you know, Kiwior, Gabriel and Saliba were up past the halfway line, 3/4 of the way up the pitch in their half, and it was just strangling Sheffield United. So you had Ben wide, hugging wide. Kiwior was wide at times. Martinelli and Saka was able to hug the pitch, and you had about 5 or 6 Arsenal players centrally just on the edge of their box. So Sheffield United couldn't get tight. They couldn't mark all of the wide players, and that just allowed so many players to have space in this game. But, you know, subtle things that I picked up in this game. You know, Declan Rice, we applaud him all the time for what he can do. And he was deployed in that number 8 position yesterday. It seemed to me like Jorginho was the guy picking the ball up from deep and then kind of just dictating play and pushing, starting the Arsenal attacks. Declan Rice was more in the left 8 position. And he was so good. We've seen Declan Rice when he get the ball. He just has the ability to drive. And they couldn't get the ball off Declan Rice yesterday. There was a few instances where Declan Rice picked up the ball just before the halfway line, drove into their half, and he just held onto the ball, and they couldn't get the ball off him. They had to bring him down, and then Declan Rice was winning a free kick. So good. But what impresses me about Declan Rice, I don't know if you noticed it as well, Declan Rice on that pitch scans more than anyone. He's always checking his shoulders, always constantly aware of what's happening around him. And that is a sign of an absolute brilliant midfielder. We see Kevin De Bruyne doing it all the time. They're obviously different kind of players, but Declan Rice just having the awareness to always know what's going on around him. And that's why he always seems so in control of the ball. That's why he never gets caught in possession, because he always knows where everyone is on the pitch. And that's why he's able to start attacks at times by finding Martinelli. We'll get on to Martinelli. Martinelli was so good. I'm so glad Martinelli scored that goal. I think it had a slight deflection in the end, but the confidence that will give Gabriel Martinelli. We're going to speak about Gabriel Martinelli slightly later in the show as well. You know, but let's start at the back. David Raya, we don't really need to say too much on David Raya because that was as quiet of a night as David Raya could ever hope to have. I'm sure David Raya wants to get involved in the play, but when your keeper's not involved in play, it means you're absolutely bossing the game. So I'm sure David Raya is happy with that. The defence was so good. Ben White in particular. You know, there's been weeks where we've singled out Gabriel, Saliba, Kiwior at times as well, but Ben White for me in this game was exceptional. Not only what he did defensively, Ben White was always pushing forward, but just the determination to get back when Sheffield United did have the odd break. But the amount he was overlapping Saka, not always did he receive the ball, but the fact that he dragged the left back out as he was overlapping just allowed Saka and Odegaard to operate around that right back position so much more, and it allowed when Jorginho was just behind them, they was creating a triangle at times that was so successful. Ben White was incredible. Show love to Ben White because he played in this game. He was probably our best defender for me. Gabriel and Saliba were solid, starting attacks from, like I said, inside their own area at times. Kiwior for me, look, I've been impressed with Kiwior lately. In this game, he did have a couple of sloppy passes maybe. He did have a couple of actions where he maybe lost out on the ball in positions where he shouldn't have. You can get away with it in games like this. When we're going to be playing Man City at the end of the month, that's when those kind of mistakes are going to cost you. So that's just something to bear in mind with Kiwior. Like I said, I have been impressed with Kiwior, but maybe this wasn't his best performance in an Arsenal shirt. I'm certainly not trying to put a negative spin on how Kiwior's been playing lately, because he has been very good. But for me, this game was maybe one of the sloppier games that Kiwior's played, but I still think he done some good actions at times. We saw him have a shot that went wildly wide, but Kiwior's playing with a lot more confidence now, and you can see that. Like I said, I've spoke about Declan Rice, so good, but Jorginho, we need to keep playing this player. Jorginho, he's so good. We've obviously got that added benefit of Thomas Partey coming back now. You know, and in my opinion, our strongest midfield is Partey, Rice and Odegaard, but there's certainly games where Jorginho can be effective, and this is absolutely one of them. When you're playing against a team who is sitting so deep, playing a low block, they're playing so compact, Jorginho just has the ability to unlock doors. You know, he does play further back in defensive actions, but when we are attacking, he does like to get forward because he knows he can unlock doors. He can find Odegaard in certain positions, and then Odegaard can find anyone on the pitch. Odegaard was incredible as well. I was so impressed with this Arsenal midfield. This might be one of the most dominant performances we've put on in terms of how our midfield played this season. You know, and I'm glad people are now starting to realise what Odegaard does. You know, he got man of the match yesterday. They singled him out in the post-match media where they was talking about all the players. Odegaard is incredible. But not just Odegaard, Saka as well. That front four of Arsenal is so strong. Like I said, Havertz, when we brought him in, everyone was questioning the decision. But the way he's playing at the minute, I think at the minute he's probably Arsenal's best number 9. And that's saying something because I like Gabriel Jesus. But I don't think Gabriel Jesus can do things that Havertz can do when Havertz is in this kind of mood. We saw the confidence Havertz was playing with yesterday. The way that he was sort of just doing these little flicks and tricks, that's something I didn't see him do in a Chelsea shirt. That's something I didn't even see him do in an Arsenal shirt early on in this season. For large parts of early on in this season, Havertz had struggled with his first touch. Maybe that was a confidence thing because that's not something I witnessed in this game. Havertz was so controlled in the way he was bringing the ball down. Like I said, outside of the foot, there was one action where the ball was coming and I was thought, oh, Havertz is going to mess this one up because it's a high ball. And he sort of just flicked it outside of his foot and laid it off to, I think it was Martinelli or Odegaard. Just such a confident display from Havertz. And if he can keep playing like that, I would keep playing him as Arsenal's main striker. The last couple of games he's played as striker, he scored a goal. And that finish was a proper centre-forward finish. We saw in the last game, Havertz got in a position where he was one-on-one with a goalkeeper and he knocked it wide. And that had people saying, this is why you can't rely on Havertz, because in them one-on-one moments, he doesn't have the ability to find the back of the net. Well, he shut the haters up in that action because that finish was incredible. That was a Robin Van Persie-esque finish. He was just to the left-hand side of the keeper and he flashed it to the right bottom corner. Such a confident finish by Havertz. I can't wait for the next game and I hope he keeps picking Havertz, even with the reintroduction of Gabriel Jesus, who, let's be honest, we all love Gabriel Jesus, but he was a bit rusty in this game. It wasn't just Jesus that was rusty. We saw Thomas Partey come on and he was also rusty, but this has to be expected. These are players that have been out for injury, especially Partey. He's been out for a massive part of the season, so he was never going to come back in and be the same Thomas Partey that he was last season. I do think he can get back to that level, and I do think it's only a matter of time, but I'm so glad that we got to saw Jesus and Partey come back on the pitch for this game, because like I said, even if they're not starting straight away, and to be fair, they probably don't deserve to start straight away. And in my opinion, Partey's probably got more of a chance to wiggle his way back into this squad, maybe than a Gabriel Jesus. But like I said, Jorginho's playing so well, so Partey's going to have to really show something when he does get the odd cameo appearance of sort of 20, 30 minutes in the second half of games, because he's not going to start games right now. Not just because it's based on his performance when he did come on. We did see Partey. I saw him find one ball in particular where he was very deep and he flashed it sort of a long through ball to Gabriel Martinelli. And that was the Thomas Partey that I remember seeing from last season. But there were some short passes that maybe he misplaced. But Gabriel Jesus was the same. You could see the confidence Gabriel Jesus had. You know, he loves being on the pitch and you can tell There was one action in particular where he was in the box. He sort of skilled the player out. And then, I don't know, he just had so much energy that in the end he ended up skilling himself out when maybe the option to pass or just move the ball on was there. But it's great to see Jesus and Partey back in the team. They are going to be an incredible option in some of these games we got coming up. We saw how we struggled against Porto. But if we can play with this kind of confidence, as we did play in these last few Premier League games, we know Porto are going to be way more compact than any of these teams that we're playing now. They got a 1-0 lead. They're very stingy at the back anyway, but the fact that you do have the ability to bring on a Jesus and Partey, like I said in the pre-match, just gives you a different look to bring on. And that's why I think we're going to be okay going forward, because we do have all these players coming back from injury now. And we are starting to hit this incredible run of form at the business end of the season. We saw Arsenal playing kind of like this, not even to this level to be fair. The beginning of last season, Arsenal was blowing every team away. But now Arsenal are doing it at the right time. You know, we started off good, beginning of this season, picked up some big wins, maybe lost a couple of games that we shouldn't have when we lost to Fulham and West Ham the first time around. But Arsenal are coming into form at the correct point of the season. If you ask Mikel Arteta, Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, when would you rather your team start coming into the best form that they've started to play all season? All of them would say probably towards the last 10 games of the season. The title race is well and truly alive. I'm not going to say Arsenal are favourites. We're, of course, the form team in the Premier League so far. But the only thing that's so frustrating is I wish we could play Man City now, next week. But the annoying thing is we've got an international break and then straight away we play Man City. So I think maybe that swings the pendulum back into their favour. I don't think Man City are playing the best football in the world at the minute. I don't think Liverpool are playing the best football in the world at the minute. But that doesn't mean these guys are still not capable of winning the league. Look at who we're playing against. Pep and Klopp. These guys are experienced in the game. These guys know what it takes to win Premier League titles. And that's why you can't get carried away just because you're beating teams 5 and 6-0. Listen, I'd definitely rather be playing how Arsenal are playing than how Liverpool and Man City are playing. But they are still grinding out results as well. And at the end of the day, the 3 points are all that matters. And like I said, Arsenal need to be careful in how they approach this latter part of the season now in terms of our title hopes, because Gabriel Martinelli limped off the pitch in this game and it looks like a serious injury. Gabriel Martinelli is always picking up knocks, but he's always more than happy to continue. And the fact that he had to be carried off by his teammates, you know, he had his arms around his shoulder and he sort of limped off on one foot, that's not a good sign. We know we have good options in Trossard and, you know, we have Nketiah on the bench. We have Gabriel Jesus back now, but none of them offer us what Gabriel Martinelli offers us in terms of an outlet at times when teams will be pressing Arsenal and you need that player with blistering pace just to offer you an outlet. That might be gone now with Gabriel Martinelli. Gabriel Martinelli's our fastest player. He's also our most dangerous player on one-on-one situations. So we are going to miss that massively with Gabriel Martinelli. Now, I hope it's not a big injury. Hopefully, we hear some brilliant news today that Mikel Arteta or someone in the club comes out and says this Gabriel Martinelli injury isn't as bad as we first feared. But it's just something we're going to have to keep an eye on, because if we was to miss Gabriel Martinelli for the rest of this season, that would be so unlucky. We know our front four now, best front four anyway, is Odegaard, Martinelli, Saka and Havertz. And the more time we can field that front four, the more chance and the higher chance Arsenal are going to have in this Premier League title race and the Champions League title race. But like I said, let me know your thoughts on that game. Who was your favourite performer? Who was your man of the match? Was it Odegaard? Was it Havertz? There's so many players you can pick out. Like I said, Ben White, very impressive. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks so much to everyone for watching and listening. Before you go though, do me the favour of just giving me a thumbs up on this video. So like and subscribe, and I'll speak to you all in tomorrow's video. Gooners, have a good day.